Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to take a look at two Highland Parks. We're going to look at the Twisted Tatoo and the Full Volume. The reason why we're going to compare these two Highland Parks is basically the only affordable age statement Highland Parks that have been released here lately. Highland Park used to be one of my favorite distilleries.
Yeah, they've gotten expensive. I mean, I guess the 12 is age stated, but
Yeah,
that's kind of entry level. I mean,
yeah.
these are special editions, and they both came in like at $100.
Yeah, so affordable Highland Parks got an age statement on it. That's what we like to see from the distillery. So just give you a tail of tape here. The Twisted Tattoo, 16 years old, 46.7% ABV, first fill bourbon, and also a wine. I don't know if it's seasoning or a maturation, but also has wine cask finish in it. Where the
Red wine casks, like not sherry.
Right. And the full volume was just first fill bourbon, 47.2, so a tick higher as far as an ABV, and is also 17 years old compared to the 16, but very similar.
Yeah.
As far as age, and one first fill bourbon, second first fill bourbon with some wine, so fairly comparable.
Yeah.
Dustin, when did these come out? Do you remember initially?
I think this was 17, and this one was a one-off. Mm-hmm. This came out probably around 19. I think these are still on shelves. I don't know if this is a core range, like they're keeping it, or if it's kind of just they made a ton of it.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I'm not sure.
I'll tell you what, I always used to love every time I got my hands on a Highland Park whiskey back in the day.
Yeah.
But, lately they've been a little hit and miss. Like to see some more age statement whiskeys out of there, but let's see what we got here.
Yeah.
Let's start with the all bourbon. Let's go with the full volume first.
Right away, man. Super sweet, super citrusy, actually, and then good smoke finish on the end.
Yeah, it comes off a little smokier than what I normally would associate with Highland Park.
I think using just bourbon kind of gave it a little. Mm-hmm. It didn't hide the smoke like you might expect.
When I was first thinking, just bourbon Highland Park, my first thoughts go back to the light.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and how the smoke was sort of a little different, a little funky there. This is different. They
don't make any references to how peated this malt is, because as we all know, Highland Park does some with a little more peat, some with a little less. They don't do anything heavy peat, but they mix it up.
Yeah, we had the one a few years back at the bar that was the double peated, or the one that had twice as much. But which one was that?
They did Valkyrie, which was up there, and then they did another one that was
Volcanut,
maybe.
Volcanut, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think they did 3 of those, and those were NASs. They were all really good they were surprisingly good given they were NASs, but
the smoke level on that is this is approaching that, which that was probably the smokiest Highland Park I'd had in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that the smoke is as high as it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of that, again, you would think it's just, because it's only bourbon, but no, this is just, it comes off very peaty.
Yeah.
And pretty sweet for a bourbon cask, but, I'm going to let you right. A little bit of citrus.
First fill, I think, is doing a really good job here. And again, the Highland Park malt it's good malt, and they don't need to hide it.
No. I mean, it's good with sherry for sure.
Oh, it is.
But yeah, but I would say at least, when there's like a honeyed vanilla, kind of similar to a Balvenie, but, that distinct Highland Park honey.
It's a little dirtier.
Mm-hmm. It's darker, older or something.
I don't know if it's older. It's just,
I feel it comes off, more, I don't know.
Earthier.
Yeah, richer, too, to some degree. All right, let's go to the Twisted Tattoo.
Yep.
I like the nose on that.
Yeah, I think the first fill did well on it.
I mean, that wine cask jumps out at you.
Yeah. We don't do a lot of, true wine casks. We do a lot of sherry, Oloroso, but, a true red wine. Mm-hmm. We don't do a lot of those whiskeys. There aren't a lot of them in general, but we don't really get to them very often.
Yeah, this wine is... I'll put it in the description. It was a little difficult to... I didn't think I would have any confidence in saying it correctly. But I'll put it in the description. But it comes off very sticky like a PX cask, but in a redder way, if
that's exactly why we're not saying it, guys. We know exactly what wine it is. We just don't know how to say it.
Just don't know how to say that. I could be way off. Yeah, but it comes off sticky like a PX sherry, but again, like a very strawberry or red berry note to it.
I almost get like a waxy crayony level of something on this one too. And I think it's the wine.
Red crayon?
It's got to be red crayon. Has to be.
Yeah, something, almost like red velvet cake.
And there's no wrapper on it.
You almost get like a red velvet cake note to it?
I get that buttery vanilla, but it's not vanilla. It's it's a darker cream, buttercream kind of thing that you'd get on a red cake potentially. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting nose. I guess I would probably prefer that slightly. And I like the nose on the full volume.
This is more dessert, and yet it's salty, savory more so, whereas this is smoky and fruity, and also vanilla-y. But
Yeah, that wine cask did some interesting things for sure.
this does add a little bit of a little slight hint of bitter oak. Not a negative, not a positive, just kind of distinctly different between the two.
Almost segueing into that banana wafer note too.
Yeah.
On that. Yeah, it's really pleasant on the full volume. It's a great nose. What are you picking up on the palate?
Same basic tasting notes that we got on the nose come through here. Vanilla, bit of smoke, maybe a little less smoke, more salt here now. It's sourer than the oak kind of bitterness comes through more here.
For sure. Oak bitterness.
I was expecting a little more creaminess, richness based on the nose because the nose is pretty creamy, pretty, had a nice little bit of coatiness on it. This isn't lacking when you start talking 47%. This actually's got a pretty good mouthfeel.
It does. It comes off sharp.
Yeah, but I was kind of expecting a little bit more because of just how nice and rich the nose was.
Yeah, the palate was definitely a letdown compared to what the nose was. It came off, again, kind of acidic. It had a few of the notes that I didn't really like about Highland Park the Light. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's good ABV. It definitely feels rich and full, but it got acidic. It got a little tart as well. And it was just not nearly what it was on the nose.
I'm with you there. And yeah, it's just, and that's kind of always my impression of this whiskey was that it was good, but it just missed.
Yeah, I mean, it needs a sweetener on the palate.
It might be better than the light, though.
Might be.
Yeah.
That light was a disappointment.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if that wine cask sweetened up anything on this. Just going back for a smell one time, man, it smells so much more dessert and sugary.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, this is red fruits, red cake, vanilla. Salty cake, though. Like, it's got, like, a nice kind of savory coastal element. Light peat. I'm actually getting more distinct peat notes here than I got on the light. The light had peat and had some smoke, but it didn't have the same level that this one's bringing.
Yeah, when I think of Highland Park, I think of taking that sip and then that smoke comes back just maybe 2 or 3 seconds after you swallow it. And this, like a traditional Highland Park, this Twisted Tatoo does that. It does come off way sweeter. It's far more enjoyable on the palate than the full volume. Red fruits, I'm glad you came around on like the red berry, like red cake note, because I mean, again, that kind of follows the same thing. Red berries, red cake, maybe red velvet cake with a little bit of white icing on top of it. I mean, it is an enjoyable whiskey. If I paid around $100 for that, I'd much rather have this one than the full volume.
I mean, for me, this is absolutely a really good value.
Yeah. Good age.
I was actually thinking I was going to score these in my head. They'd be scored about the same, and I would just, maybe which one I like better. Mm-hmm. This comes off as something I would not want to pay $100 for.
Not again. No, I mean, to have it one time, it's always worth trying. But I have yet to be. Not that I've had many. I've yet to be like really impressed by a Highland Park that was just a bourbon cask only.
Yeah, I've had some independent bottles. They're on the younger side. And it's always one of those things where I have a lot of fun drinking it because I like kind of learning Highland Park's distillate. Mm-hmm. But they never quite have gotten there. And I'd love to see a really old one, 25, 30 years to really see what can happen. But
earlier we were talking about different whiskeys, whether repeated or unrepeated, do different versions. Highland Park feels like when they go to their normal sherry cask maturation whiskeys to something bourbon only, it feels like such a drastic change. Like there are some elements that you pick up that you're similar that you can recognize and kind of anchor your smell and tasting notes on. But man, without that sherry cask finish, Highland Park is quite a bit different. Like Macallan.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, they both smell so good, and water has really only enhanced the sweetness of both.
Do you agree with that statement that's similar to Macallan that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably in the ballpark, and I think also in part that's because those are two distilleries famous for sourcing some of the best sherry casks in the world. I don't know that they're sourcing the best bourbon casks.
Well, even if they are sourcing very high-end bourbon casks, I mean, it's still hard to live up to when that sweetness of the sherry fits their malt so well. Anyway, those are just my thoughts.
I gotta say this is reminding me of the Highland Park 18, but it's more savory, less peaty, and the extra ABV, extra mouthfeel on here really adds a lot.
I'm not getting a lot of orange. Like when I think Highland Park 18, I think of that orange.
You're right. It's not as citrus. Yeah, it's not as citrus. Sorry, it's not as citrus, and it's not as I was trying to do acidic and citrus at the same time. Instead, I named a company that does like I think routers and stuff. But no, it's more savory with a little more salty forward without like the peaked smoke finish I get on the 18 on the end. Now, mind you, I have only had the old 18. I haven't had the new bottling. Maybe that's changed.
I'm sure it is.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a worthwhile experience. If I could pick this up for $100, I would. It's worth having in my collection. That's interesting whiskey. Because again, even though it's a red wine cask as opposed to a traditional sherry cask that I would think Highland Park would use, I mean that still feels like comes off similar to me.
This one got a little more bold with the water. A little more of that salt. A little peat came out more. Ooh. Yeah, that got interesting. Real interesting. Still very good.
You know, and again, when they get exotic with these cask maturations, it just has to be they're short of really good sherry casks that they could use. It's not like they don't know that's a winning combination. Right?
Well, I mean, I think there's a desire to experiment, but I think you're right. Well, I think they're looking for quality casks that they can get that aren't sherry because there's a lack of quality sherry casks.
Mm-hmm. Or at least to their standard.
This red wine,
it complements it well.
I'd love to see some more of these older ones. I bet you they could even do a younger one, and it may not be one that we buy, but I bet you it'd be a really good bottle for people who they did an entry level Highland Park with that red wine cask in it. I think it'd be a great bottle to add to the core.
Right, ABV, yeah.
And keep the ABV right here, 46 plus.
Yeah, no, that 46, right around that range. I mean, Highland Park's real intro. I mean, if you think about it, the old 30-25, that was the 45-7 for a long time. I mean, that Highland Park drinks pretty well at 46.
You know what? Water brought out a little more spice here and actually added, the mouth feels a little nicer now.
All right, Dustin. So, versus series, I think we both would definitely take Twisted Tatoo if someone was offering us a drink at the bar. But let's try to quantify it with a score to some degree. I would say the Twisted Tatoo for me would be roughly, not to get into it too much, would be about an 87 out of 100.
Okay.
Or I would say the full volume to me is about an 84. Just my initial thoughts. I didn't focus on one whiskey.
Yeah.
It's different you compare.
83, 84, 85, 86.
Okay, so it's a little bit high.
You're a little higher than I am, I think, but you always go high when you've only had, a short period of time. You always kind of stay conservative with those scores.
Maybe. And I do like Highland Park. So I'm happy when I get something that's at least a little bit.
I could 87 I might be able to go here on this one. This one
Hey man, it's a good ABV. It has pretty good age. I've had worse.
I will say water seems to have made both better.
I'll remember this whiskey.
Yeah.
It's an interesting whiskey. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. This is one that I think I will replace at some point if it's still around. And now, mind you, I did see these for like $40 a few places online when they were trying to kind of get rid of them. I tell you what, if you see that, guys, you see a price like that, go pick one up. I mean, this is darn good stuff, and I mean,
it's decent. It's decent. It's bourbon. It's pretty decent bourbon cask Highland Park.
You can get this for entry level pricing. It's pretty nice. 17 years. It drinks like it's got some age. It's nice.
Yeah, Highland Park also have the ice. I forgot about that. That was a bourbon cask too. Ice, light.
None of those were great.
None of those were great, right?
No.
I mean, again, they're all nice whiskeys. I would say the ice is probably the best of those three bourbon ones.
Put this in the middle between the.
Yeah, and then the light would probably. But again, that's what I've never really been impressed with the bourbon only Highland Park, even like the independent bottling ones. Anyway.
Yeah.
We beat that horse to death.
Yeah. Well, Highland Park. Prove us wrong.
Right, no doubt. Anyway, I want to thank you again for once again joining for another comparison whiskey review. Dustin, until next time, we'll the folks.
Happy drinking.
We'll see you next time.